I look like a gardener to you? I am a better, I am not a gardener. Hedging is for gardens. How does your garden grow?
With plus money.
With plus money. Hedging is for gardens.
Welcome in, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live. It is Wednesday, the 7th of January. You're with Steve Wyss and Nigel Seeley for an action-packed day tonight, Nigel. 8 Premier League fixtures, 5 in Serie A. We've got the Spanish Super Cup as well. It's a busy Wednesday for a non-European day, it must be said. How are you doing?
I'm doing very, very well. My old mate, Steve, I'm looking at, I've been concentrating on the Premier League, really. I've left you. It's sort of a 50-50 split today. I'm in charge of the Premier League action. You're in charge of the best bets across Europe, and I think we're in safe hands today. I've got a strong feeling the Daily Double's going to cop. Really do. I think the channel's on and up. We're winning money on the tennis. We're winning money on the Daily Double PM with Mike and Doug, and I feel tonight we're going to cop. Hitman got a winner. It's all starting good in 2026, and I feel confident tonight.
I tell you what, the profit for the Daily Double this week is brilliant combined, isn't it? And in the tennis, I mean, Sean Calvert, he said to me at the Christmas party, he was very, very confident of a great 2026. And then he started like a house on fire, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Was he 5-0 so far this week? Incredible stuff on the I've got to tip my hat to him. And someone did a bit of a Photoshop on him with a cigar. I thought that looked great. He put a cap on him. He looked like a Peaky Blinder, didn't he? It was incredible.
Well, I think the two things we've got to think of with Sean. After he said he was going to win, he had 1.5 Magnus, which is usually like Sean's limit, really. After 1.5 Magnus is anybody's. So, confident talk come out of his mouth after 1.5 Magnus at the Christmas party. But also, now he's big time. Now he's hit 5 winners on the show. Will we see the $1 bus? That's the big question. Will it be now Uber Premier? Will it be chauffeur? It'll be going away soon. And will we see the $1 bus? We'll wait and see.
It'll be business class by his first trip away.
First trip away.
If he keeps this up. But I want to welcome everyone in. User, whatever it is, says Juventus beat Sassuolo away yesterday, but they couldn't be Lecce at home on Sunday. Make sense. Well, it makes sense that Juventus they're a team to be backing. I said keep backing them. I did yesterday, thankfully. But yeah, the result of the weekend was disappointing. Absolutely, let's make some money. Good to see Mig Chung in there, and Buelo Charles as well. Real Brandon King. The Ravens firing John Harbour. I mean, I was thinking about this. The equivalent would probably be Arsenal sacking Arsene Wenger when Wenger was in charge of Arsenal. That's what the equivalent is. Or maybe Simeone getting sacked at Atletico Madrid. You don't get managers in soccer last longer than 5 years often now, do you? So that's the closest equivalent I can come in there. But great to see Villa fan, Mindy Pereira, stay away at 7 as well. Matt Locke, Duncan Evans. I mean, so much on the slate. We're going to get straight into the action, actually, because we don't want to be messing around today. Serie A, we've got 2 early games. These matches kick off in about an hour and a half time, the Napoli game and then the Bologna fixture. I personally think Napoli in the early kickoffs, -1.5, is probably the best option. Simply because Verona have started 2026 awful. They've offered absolutely no goal threat at all. They have one of those sides that underachieved a lot with the metrics this year. But I have to say, at the start of this calendar, they have been so poor that Napoli, although they've had a lot of games, should dismiss them quite easily. You could also look at Napoli win to 0 in this affair. If Verona play like they did against AC Milan, then they're just basically coming here to try and avoid getting a big beating. So that is what I would say is the best bet of the early fixtures there. Bologna against Atalanta is a much more tricky affair. Atalanta still without 2 key players, of course, the African Nations Cup. Lookman, who's been incredible for Nigeria, and Kusanu for the Ivory Coast there. Yeah, the favourites away from home against a Bologna side who I can never get right. So I couldn't be having either team, really, to be honest with you. Lookman is a big blow, tearing it up out there. So for me, the early kickoffs there in Serie A, and you've got about an hour and a half of these ones, is Napoli on the -1.5 Asian handicap.
Can I make a little couple of stats? I did a little bit of work on the Napoli game, and obviously Serie A is not my forte. Obviously, you and James are covering it so greatly on Extra Time. But I saw Napoli won their last 4 matches 2-0, and they've kept the clean sheet in 5 consecutive matches. It's incredible for the first time since February 2023. That is the first time they get a clean sheet. And if you look at their matches, 9 of their last 10 goals have been scored in the first half. And Verona have conceded 4 away goals in the opening 15 minutes, which is the highest ratio for any team in Serie A. So I like Napoli, half-time, full-time. I do like Napoli a draw. And the way they're playing 2-0 Napoli is the way to go. So I'm on that kind of win to nil kind of angle. But Napoli come out fast, and Verona are vulnerable to an early goal. So there's a couple of little stats there that backs up on the Napoli game. But Napoli got 2 key injuries out as well, which is a bit of a blow for them as well. Suspensions after the suspensions after the red card at the weekend, and another player missing as well they've got. So that would be a worry for me.
Yeah, Napoli have actually had sort of poor team news the whole season. There's certain teams recently who've just been able to combat bad team news really, really well, and they're one of those sides. They're in such a good rhythm. The interesting stat on the actual betting money for the game is that there's 71% of the over-under money on the under, and I think that is what people are looking at. That exact 2-0 correct score, Nigel, is the most likely outcome. So I can certainly see why that was of interest to you there. 95% of the money's on Napoli for the game. In the Atalanta game, by the way, we've got 72% of the money on the money line on Atalanta. 91% of the money on the over there. I'm not sure about that this time of year, but there's still an hour and a half to go before kickoff, so we might get something going there. I'm just going through the comments now. Dave Clark, good to see you. Effie Brilowski says Napoli win and under 3.5 goals, -110. Nothing wrong with that bet, I don't think either, to be honest with you. Ray Burke, good to see you. I'm sure it's not such a great feeling at West Ham. Another defeat for West Ham yesterday. And the biggest soccer bet yesterday was sadly a loser, Nige. West Ham Forest. It was a live bet in the first half, over 1.5 goals, -164. Hopefully that particular bet got the money back in the second half. But another defeat. I thought we'd be talking about another sacking on this show today, but who knows?
You never know. The day's not over yet. You may get one. There's been interesting developments in the betting on that, but we'll come on to that a little bit later on. But interesting one.
Yeah, biggest soccer winner yesterday was Como on the money line, -104 against Pisa. Cesc Fabregas' Como now into the top 4 in Serie A. Incredible going there for him. We've got tons and tons of Premier League games, and I'm sure most of you have watched the Premier League show with Nigel, Jack and Dan, but we're going to talk about the matches one by one now. Some will go through quicker than others, but Bournemouth against Tottenham to start things off with here. Neither sides are in great form, Nigel, but Bournemouth have been backed in here, +114 for them. So Menyo supposedly will play, which I find a bit weird. He's having a medical. He's had the medical, and he's going to move to Man City tomorrow. There's no way I'll be wanting him to play if I'm Man City, but I guess contracts is a contract, aren't they? Will he want to go out in style here?
Well, I mean, you're on the verge of a £70 million move, and you're going to play in sub-zero conditions against Tottenham. One injury, you're in trouble. I remember many years ago, Paul Gascoigne having that move to Lazio, and then he got injured, and his whole career changed overnight. I mean, why on earth Semenyo will be playing that? I know it's loyalty to the club, which you have to admire him, but from a business perspective, it's just ludicrous that he's playing in this match. I suppose that's how much he doesn't really concerned about Tottenham, because they're powder puff at this moment in time. I mean, you say that they've been bet. Well, when we did the Premier League show, Bournemouth for +107. They're now +114. So they have drifted out since when we recorded that on Thursday, wasn't it? I'm losing the track. Monday, sorry. I'm losing the track of the days. The money that's actually, there hasn't really been much money at all, really, in this match here. And it's really a question of, do you think Bournemouth are better than what their current form is? Do you think that they are better than no wins in 11? And I think they are. They've got goals in them. They scored at least a couple of goals against, a good class opposition. Scored 2 goals against Arsenal. Played really, really well. Scored 2 goals against Chelsea as well. And they've got a win in them. And Tottenham are just so depleted by injuries, and really are. It's all the manager under pressure. Thomas Frank is a manager under huge pressure. I think his Champions League form is keeping him in the job here. I think of all the angles today, I think this is one of the most difficult matches to really have an opinion on. Semenya, if he plays, how much is he going to be at it? I mean, honestly, Steve, if you're going to be on 200 grand a week and you're going to get 70 million, Bristol City, by the way, will get a quarter of that move. So Bristol City in the Championship will get about 15 million quid on the move, which will turn their season around. They suddenly, if they can get it in the transfer window, they suddenly become massive contenders for the playoffs. Bristol City chairman, the Bournemouth chairman, Semenya himself, he's not going to go into any 50-50 tackle. I think that's ludicrous for him to play. He might play for 60 minutes, get a standing ovation for him, but if there's anything wrong with him, and he's not going to be at it. So I think Semenya playing is a negative for Tottenham. I really do. Wouldn't really have much of a way this match regard. I think there's much better bets there, but I just don't see the logic in Semenya playing this match.
No, I don't either, and I'm almost suspicious whether he will be starting. He might just be on the bench or something like that. Imagine if he did his cruciate ligament.
That's exactly what happened with Paul Gascoigne. He was going to Lazio, played in the FA Cup final against Nottingham Forest, got overhyped, went in for a tackle, and he was out for 9 months. It's ludicrous. The only good thing about Tottenham is their road record this season. Their road record is incredible. They've only lost 4 matches on the road. They've lost to Arsenal, Paris Saint-Germain, Newcastle, and Nottingham Forest in 15 matches. So they've got a good road record. They're terrible at home, as we know. One of the worst road home records in the Premier League, but away they're good. And I think Semenya playing is a negative. I think the market might look at it as a positive, but no. He's not going to. How much out of 100%? How much is he going to be at it? It's freezing cold. One tackle.
He can't be.
He ain't going to be.
He can't be. The best solution would not be to have him at all. It's interesting here for me that 55% of the money's on the under, because the rules of Bournemouth are back the under at home and bet on the over away. So clearly folk are kind of going towards the trends here. And the colder
their last
weather.
match was 3-2 against a crazy match against Arsenal.
Yeah,
that
you never would have thought that, would you?
And I suppose when you're on the run of 11 matches that have been, disappointing, you've got to do it. I mean, I don't agree with that rule so much. I mean, they played Fulham, won 3-1. They played West Ham in a 2-2 draw. Only recently, a 0-0 draw against Chelsea and a 1-0 defeat against Everton. But, Bournemouth and goals go hand in hand. It doesn't usually matter where they play. But Tottenham and goals don't go hand in hand. And it's the two contrasting styles here. And when you have the best player on the pitch, without doubt, Semenya is the best player on the pitch, when he's got on the verge of a career-defining move, and he's not going to be at it, I think that's a very strange decision. So, if Semenya plays, I'll be looking at Tottenham on the draw no bet market.
85% of the money is on Tottenham, and 88% of the tickets are on Tottenham. So they're a real public dog here, and perhaps a professional dog for that matter. Like I said, more money is on the under in the fixture. So, I mean, I've got nothing on this personally. I think it's one of those, there's a lot of question marks. If I had to pick a score, I'd go 1-1, but not really sure. I think there's better options today on the board. Manchester City against Brighton. We go to now. Manchester City look like they're kind of reeling Arsenal in, Nigel, but they've just slipped off recently. The draw against Sunderland, the late goal conceded against Chelsea. Suddenly there's injuries across the board. Minus 225 for them. And, actually minus 210 now. This is a team that haven't been backed at all. They've been drifting. And, the main Asian handicap line now, you can pretty much get -1 on Manchester City. This has got to be team news related. And the fact that Brighton sometimes are more dangerous when they're sort of a clear underdog.
I think it's more to do with the fact that Man City have got key defenders out. Kuzanov and Ake are probably going to be their centre-half partnership, and I think that's gettable. We saw that against Chelsea. Chelsea played really well. They had a rookie manager who made, it was managing in the under-21s and only managed assistant manager at Croydon FC. And when you consider I played against Croydon FC, that is like the level that the guy was. So that was like sort of Roy the Rovers kind of stuff, comic book stuff for the guy to manage against Pep Guardiola. I mean, what do we make of Man City? The 0-0 draw against Sunderland was before, but the goal XG was pretty good. Quite impressive. They dominated that match. They should have put the game to bed against Chelsea in the first half. They had opportunities, hit the post. Haaland is still dangerous. And Brighton have been heavily bet. -$7 they were on Monday. Now they're +550. That's quite a decent move, actually. And the draw has gone from +430 to +375. So that's a significant Asian move for Brighton on the Asian handicap. I just think it's to do with the defensive. No Diaz, no Gabriel. I think I never pronounced that name. Gabriel, no Gabriel. So that's a problem there. And the two players are coming in are a massive downgrade. Man City are good for goals, but Brighton are good for goals as well. And I think that Brighton will be very confident they can score against this Manchester City side, because every team that plays Manchester City at the moment feels they can score against them. We talk about this is a team that went to Fulham the other day and conceded 4 goals at Fulham. Unheard of. So I think Brighton will get at them. I think there's goals in the match. I'd look for over 2.5 goals. And I think the reason why the Asian handicap has changed a little bit is because a lot of the market actually thinks that Brighton will score against this leaky defence. There's it's FA Cup weekend at the weekend, and that's not really a massive significance. But Brighton certainly will be looking at the FA Cup this year as a tournament that they want to win. And I think Tony Bloom this year would want Brighton to break into Europe and win something. So the FA Cup is a big tournament for them. And they have Manchester United away. So I think that's going to be a little bit on their mind, whereas Man City, obviously at home to Exeter, they could put out the kids and still win that match. So that might be a little bit of a problem for Brighton. I do understand the move, because minus 278 just seemed very, very short. 225, and I think the market might actually be getting to a stage where Man City might become a bet here, -1. But I do think they'll concede. And when you concede the goals and you're betting teams at -1, you need them to score 3 goals to collect. So that is a concern for me. So I again, no real opinion on this match at all, but I do understand why Man City are so negative in the market.
There's still 97% of the money on Man City, 93% of the tickets as well. We've got a house special from Bet Rivers here. It's Erling Haaland to score at least 2 goals and Man City to win. That's a boosted to plus 275. Wow. Haaland has been the first goal scorer in each of Man City's last 3 Premier League games against Brighton. So he likes playing against Brighton. And I think one of the main reasons for that, you made a really good point in the Premier League show, Brighton don't have that physicality really compared to some of the teams. They're not that nasty, are they? You don't think of them as a nasty team. Whereas that Sunderland, for example, handle him reasonably well. Just looking at that, Brighton 7 times this season, Haaland has scored at least 2 goals, and Man City have won in the Premier League days. That's a good how special then, isn't it?
7 times. So, however bad you feel that their defensive frailties might be there, Haaland and Foden are still bang on fire. So 17 times this season in the Premier League, Haaland has scored 2 or more goals, and Man City have gone on to win the match. And that is out of 20 matches. So that's not a bad little special there.
Yeah, and talking of plus money, we have got the bonus bet, of course, which is available. Use our Pizza Money bonus code, betting weekly 1218. I put it up on there on screen in capitals to get a $10 bonus bet to use on any plus money bet at Bet Rivers. You've got till January the 11th to redeem that. So time is ticking down for those who haven't used it yet. I know loads of you have used this, and hopefully some of you have managed to cash some winners out. That plus 275 on the house special would be a contender for this, but we're going to give you several plus money possible bets today as well to get stuck into. That's betting weekly 1218. A little bit of pizza money bonus for you there. Just going through some of the comments here. Mr. Promise says, don't overcomplicate it. Man City winning over 2.5 goals at evens. He really likes it on that one. Effrey likes team total for Manchester City over 2.5 goals plus 110. So, yeah, Manchester City now are starting to become quite attractive because when City become a backable price, a lot of
I think it's everyone knows they've got to score and everyone knows they've got the firepower, but this defence, you're betting the defence and not to keep a clean sheet if you're paying high Asian handicaps. 6 times Haaland's played against Man City and he scored in 6 goals in 6 times as well. So that, again, enhances that special.
We move to Crystal Palace against Aston Villa here. Aston Villa plus 140, Crystal Palace plus 220, tie plus 225. Really close market there on the over 2.5 goal line. Both teams score yet is minus 143. I mean, historically, this is one of those, isn't it? Do you go with the head-to-head? Because Glasner seemed to have owned Unai Emery pretty well. Or do you look more at the recent form? And you've been spot on about Crystal Palace for quite some time, Nigel. This is sort of the last match in this really difficult period for them. Although I say that they didn't even qualify automatically in the Conference League, did they? So are they there to be taken again, Palace? I thought the last 20 minutes against Newcastle, they were running on fumes again.
Well, that's the only. I said to the Premier League show, that's one of the only things I've got right on the Premier League this season is actually calling the decline in Crystal Palace when I did. Now, I obviously my family are season ticket holders at Crystal Palace, which I've mentioned many, many times. And my brother messaged me last night and said, "Do you want to go to this game?" And because I did this, I wouldn't be able to meet him and go to the match. And I thought, also, it's -3 degrees. I don't fancy it. But he said there's more tickets available for this match than any Crystal Palace game this season. So does that suggest that the Crystal Palace faithful think, we're going to get beat again? At the start, when they're on that winning run of 19 matches unbeaten, you couldn't get a Crystal Palace ticket. Now I could get you 5 tickets if you want to go to Crystal Palace tonight. It's easy. So there is a sort of a feeling that Crystal Palace may have run their race. And I don't think the news coming out of Old Trafford, as we said with Amorim, if you look at the betting market at Old Trafford, it's clearly they're going to put a interim manager in charge at the end of the season. And that looks like Solskjaer, potentially Darren Fletcher, or Michael Carrick. So he's going to be an old manager in charge, and then they're going to go at the end of the season for someone big, unless that person does a tremendous job, which I doubt very much if they will. And Glasner is definitely the man that they will highlight. And I think that's got a huge, huge negative for Crystal Palace Football Club. Glasner said out in a press conference today that Gaya can leave in January. Well, if he was going to stay there, I think he'd fight for him. He said he can go in January. He's been loyal to us. He didn't go when he wanted to go. He's out of contract. He'll go. I think there could be the decline of Palace very, very quickly. They're down to their bare bones. They, with all the injuries that we've highlighted before, Sarr at the AFCON has been the biggest blow for anyone. Mateta doesn't look right. I know he scored that header the other week, but he doesn't look the same. He doesn't look fit. He looks tired. And I know that Villa have got a terrible record. Palace went there and won 3-0 early in the season, but this is a very, very different Palace team. Lerma is out tonight. Klein has come in for Munoz. He's not playing tonight as well. Their bench was full of teenagers. Some of them might have to step into the first team. If you looked at, if this was Crystal Palace playing Manchester City or Arsenal, I think they would probably be around about -$2 tonight to beat this Crystal Palace side. Because it's Villa and because of that record that they have against them, you can bet them at +130. They were +132 when we recorded on Monday. I put it up as an official play, and I don't see any reason why it isn't an official play. Villa have won 12 of their last 13 matches, as everybody in the chat will know, and their only defeat was against the league leaders, Arsenal. And for the first half, they dominated Arsenal. They were much better side and should have probably got in the break 2-0 up. And you've got a Palace side haven't won in 7, a manager who's linked to go to Manchester United, your captain who looks like he's destined to go in the transfer window, fans not wanting tickets at this moment in time, not because they're down in the tools on the club, but the thing is they're going there now thinking we're going to get beat. And I think Villa tonight at +130 is a cracking bet. So if you got that offer with Bet Rivers, you want a plus money bet tonight, I think Villa at night at +130 is great. And last season they played them 4 times, didn't they? And Villa didn't win one match, including the FA Cup semi-final. But that Crystal Palace team and that starting 11 is so different to what we are now. And I would argue that the Crystal Palace team, obviously the personnel is different, but the Aston Villa side has gone on to be better and better and better. Watkins is in form as well, and I fear for Palace tonight. I think +130 is a massive price.
Yeah, it's actually +140 now, and I do agree. This is one of 3 bets that I really do like in the Premier League. Effie says Villa have a history of misery at Palace. He's going Palace draw no bet, and I do respect manager head-to-heads, but just think this is such a hard period for Crystal Palace at the moment, and I can't go. AJT97 makes an interesting point that they collapse by the hour mark regularly, and he's going with Villa to score last at nearly even.
Yeah, that's a nice play to go. The other thing as well, I think the distraction from the manager is huge, because like every press conference yesterday was asked about like potentially going to Man United. He sort of directed it and shut it down and said, no, I'm a Crystal Palace manager. I won't talk about it. They actually asked him, he's the bookie's favourite, and he said he's not allowed to bet. But the press conferences before the match will be, you've been linked with everywhere you go, everywhere that club goes today, they will know that their managers could be leaving at the end of the season. So what does that tell you about a group of players? And your captain has been told in the last 48 hours he can leave in the transfer window. I really do fear for it. And Man City are desperate for a defender. Obviously, the two players they're missing, and Gaya looks like he's going to go to Man City as well. So if he goes, the manager goes, players out injured, AFCON players, main striker struggling, Wharton doesn't look the same as he was at the start of the season. I think Villa here plus 130 is cracker.
Duncan says Villa have got to go in the daily double. They're not actually part of the daily double, Duncan, but I'm sure.
So you see how confident I am on the daily double, wouldn't you?
Yeah. 87% of the money is on Villa. They've been backed here, and 88% of the tickets as well. 76% of the money is on the over. So let's move on to the next match, and you're gonna have to try talking me out of Brentford here, Nigel, because Sunderland have just constantly defied me in this period where they've missed AFCON players. Brentford at minus 125. For me, this is where this Sunderland run just has to end. They cannot keep doing what they are doing. A tough place to go. You know, to be honest with you, I thought Tottenham should have beaten Sunderland in the last match. And again, they showed great heart to come back. Brentford at minus 125. Let's talk value or no value here, though. I think those are acceptable odds because Brentford, and I will say, at the start of the season, we were really worried about Brentford, but they have been really good under Keith Andrews, and they've got a striker in this Thiago, who is one of the stories of the whole campaign. Surely they have too much here for this Sunderland side, who might not have anything left in the tank.
Well, we've been saying that about this Sunderland side for 2 or 3 weeks. I think it shows you what spirit and determination and a good manager can do to you. It can make you run through walls, and that is what they're happening there. They're finding extra 10% when they need it. But Brentford are the third top home scorers in the Premier League, behind Arsenal and Manchester City. They have the best record in the Premier League, apart from Arsenal, Man City, and Aston Villa. And again, they're minus 125 to beat this Sunderland side. If that was Arsenal, Man City, or Aston Villa, who have, Man City have lost one game this season, Villa lost one game at home this season, Brentford have only lost one game at home this season. That was against Manchester City. If that was them at home, I would argue that they would be minus 350. Brentford are minus 125. It does seem a big price, especially when you consider they scored 20 goals. Look at what's coming at the other end of Sunderland. We know at home they're phenomenal. 5 wins, 5 draws, no defeats. They've got only Arsenal are undefeated at home, as well as Sunderland. But away from home, it's a very different thing. 2 wins from 10 matches and only 5 goals scored, which is the second lowest in the Premier League behind Wolves. So I think that's got to find its toll on them. And obviously, since the AFCON, it's all been about defence. It's all been about 10 men behind the ball, hit them on the counter-attack, and see if we can stay in the game, and then we'll come good at some stage. 0-0 against Brighton, 1-1 against Leeds, 0-0 against Man City, 1-1 against Tottenham. The last 5 matches have all been under 2.5 goals, all been under, and all 4 of the 5 have been draws. And I think that's what they're going to do against Brentford. They're going to try to withstand the early pressure. But not many teams can withstand the early pressure at the G-Tech. They come out flying and they hit you hard and they score early. I do agree with you that minus 125 is a bet. It was minus 122. There has been a little bit of money with Bet Rivers for Brentford. But I weighed it all up and I gave this as an official play on the Premier League show. If you're betting them at minus 125, you would expect their main players to take to the pitch and score goals. And Thiago is plus 105 to score any time tonight. He was even money. He's drifted. He's on the back of a hat trick. He scored 7 goals in 10 home matches for Sunderland this season. You can get plus money. Again, look at the Bet Rivers offer. Plus money. Thiago to score any time. I mean, he is the man. He's the second top goal scorer in the Premier League. Again, I compare this to Haaland. Haaland's a different animal compared to him, Thiago, though. But Haaland would be minus 350 to score in this match. If we looked at Ollie Watkins in this kind of match, Ollie Watkins would probably be minus 160, minus 150. But Thiago, plus money, plus 105. So I looked at it all. I agree with you. I think Brentford will win. I think they could win this quite easily. I think this could be the end of the road for Sunderland. But rather than take Brentford at minus 125, I took a bit of the plus 105. I took a bit of even money. It's drifted against me now on Thiago to score at any time.
Yeah, Bet Rivers are offering plus 105 on Thiago here to score any time. He was in great form at Everton last time out. He's plus 425 to score 2 or more goals. And Bet Rivers are even offering markets for him to score a hat-trick or 4 goals here. That might be pushing it a bit too much, but 71% of the money is on Brentford, 78% of the tickets are on Brentford. I thought there'd be more money on them, to be honest. The Sunderland results putting maybe quite a few bettors off. Just 62% of the money's on the over for the game. Brentford first half goal price looks cheap, says Biakar.
But you talk about sorry. Just say sorry to interrupt you, Steve. But I look at like potential banana skins, and people say, "Oh, the Palace is a potential banana skin." Sunderland have been the bananas for me. They cost me my bananas in the last 4 or 5 weeks, and there's just something about this Sunderland side that they run through brick walls for the manager, and they're hard to break down. But if they can get a draw here, because we know they're going to be right under it from the first whistle, then it's incredible. But that's why I think the -125 could be. I'm a little bit worried about it, so I went for the Thiago route instead.
I think they're a huge favourite for the rest of the season, Sunderland. I really do. They're not a team I'd be looking to back. Because, I think you're right, they're saying they're running in brick walls. Come the last couple of months, I think they'll be one of the first teams that are actually on the beach, and they'll need to be on the beach. They'll need the break because the effort that they've put in.
Another team as well. I know we're talking about the FA Cup, but, I do think some of these clubs in that sort of middle table of the Premier League will look at the FA Cup and think, so we've got an opportunity to look what Crystal Palace did yesterday. And obviously Sunderland have got to go to Everton at the weekend in the FA Cup as well, which is, that's a big match for both clubs, because both clubs would like to win some silverware this year, whereas Brentford have to go to Sheffield Wednesday, and know we've got their problems in League One. So I don't really care too much about the FA Cup, and people might have their opinions on it, but I do think some of these sides will think, Man United, for example, will have to win the trophy this season, and the FA Cup is their trophy, and they've got to play Brighton. So what's more important for them? The FA Cup, they're up there. That does come into it a little bit. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I really like Brighton for the FA Cup, but then Amorim got sacked, and I'm not sure I like that matchup anymore, because United are just going to have to go full pelt for it. FA Cup this weekend, there's going to be some Instagram stuff. I think the Hitman Paul uses. He's asking me for who I'm going to go for my winner now, and I'm still debating it, Nigel. So
I've done mine today.
Space.
I did mine today. Yeah.
Watch
I'm
this.
I'm not going to tell you. You have to get an Instagram. We're three subscribers short of 2,000 on Instagram. And to be fair, I know people are looking at Instagram going, only 2,000. The average age of the Because We Win team is about 57. So to get 2,000 subscribers on Instagram, or followers, whatever they call it, we could class ourselves Instagrammers. So if you haven't subscribed to or followed us on Instagram, please hit the follow button, because we could get 2,000 tonight. See if we can get 2,000, it'd be great.
Yeah.
If you want to see middle-aged men just walking around, just giving random bets and a couple of beers and walking in the snow, singing at things, great. Follow us. Yeah,
absolutely do that. AJT says, hard to bet against Sunderland until they get beat for me personally. I want to be ahead of the train, the train here, AJT. They've cost me a fair bunch. Let's move to a London derby here now. Chelsea travelling to Fulham. Chelsea minus money, Nigel. Yeah. Can you be having Chelsea at minus money, considering what's been going on at the club, and considering that Fulham are no pushovers themselves? I think Fulham double chance are starting to tempt me here, but I'm always a bit put off by these London derbies where sort of anything can happen, especially these two have quite a big rivalry, don't they?
Very close. Only literally one road separates the two. I think it's about 1.5 miles from the two grounds along the Fulham Palace Road. Obviously, Chelsea have got in their man, Liam Rosenior, who says all the right things, who looks incredible. He looks like a young, if you were building on the computer and AI, a young football manager in the Premier League, Liam Rosenior would tick every single box, but limited. Never managed in the Premier League. Never dealt with players like this of the ego. You follow Liga and a lot closer than me. Strasbourg have been great, but he's been beneficial from a lot of loan players from Chelsea. Now coming into this kind of environment, it's a big ask for him. But judging by their performance against Manchester City, I thought they played quite well to get the point, especially second half. They played really well. But I wouldn't be betting them at minus 106 here, but it wouldn't surprise me to see them win this match. But I do think goals. I think there's goals in this card. If you look at Fulham, they've scored in 11 of their 12 matches at Craven Cottage this season. They put 4 past Manchester City. They put 2 past Liverpool at the weekend. Harry Wilson is one of the best players in the Premier League at this moment in time. They've got a striker in form as well. And I know they've got a few key players out at the AFCON, but I think there's goals in this match. If you look at Fulham, they played all their matches this season, 24 matches. Only 3 times have they kept they've been kept out scoring, and that was against Everton, Chelsea, and Arsenal was 2-0 in the reverse fixture. So Fulham are always good for a goal. They're always one of the best bets on both teams to score. Yes, and I just feel this one is a goal frenzy. I like the over 2.5. I like both teams to score. I think I'd put that in a same game parlay. But actually, where I think the match will come out, again, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Chelsea win this. But would I be holding any money of them at -106? Not a chance.
No, me neither at all. But 91% of the money is on Chelsea, 92% of the tickets on Chelsea as well. Nearly 90% of the over-under money is on the over. So that could be the angle here. I think it's a really difficult one in terms of match result. Let's see. I mean, in terms of Rosenior, it's one of those. I just think the job's come too early for him. I do rate him, and I think he's a great up-and-coming sort of manager, and he has done well wherever he's been. But this feels at least 2 years too soon.
The problem with him, if we're being brutally honest with you, right? If Chelsea didn't have the connection with Strasbourg, Liam Rosenior would never be in the conversation to be the next. No, he wouldn't. You know, and when the odds come out after they got the sacking over here on who will be the next manager, when I see Liam Rosenior at -250, I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought, this is insane. Chelsea Football Club are only doing that because they're setting a precedent on how they run football clubs with their sister clubs and things like that. But they've got nothing to lose, I suppose. But you know, they've got Champions League football to play for. They're in the Champions League. If they're in the Champions League quarterfinal, semi-final, I don't know if Liam Rosenior would get them out of trouble. But they have history. They've won the Champions League with a rookie manager and sacked him after they won the Champions League, and he never did anything after that. I think he went to West Brom, didn't he, Di Matteo, and never did anything after that. And a lot of these young managers take these big jobs, never works out, and then you never see him again. And I fear that could be the situation here. But if he wasn't associated with Strasbourg, which are owned by the owners of Chelsea, then he would not. If you listed 100 managers, Liam Rosenior would not be in that 100 list.
I think it's one of those where, what Chelsea have obviously getting a lot of good technical managers recently. Potter was one of those as well, really. He is good in terms of tactical style and setup, but in terms of man management, can he really handle a dressing room full of what's quite a lot of big egos, really? That's going to be the real test.
They've got 70 players in their first team squad. They've got players on loan. People who are coming back. There's position in 6 positions. There are people who are on 100 grand who haven't kicked the ball this season. You know, I don't know what his wages will be on, but I would probably guess that virtually every senior member in the Chelsea squad will be on more money than the manager.
Probably.
He won't be on a lot of money because they'll
6.5 years. They're giving it.
Incredible.
So let's see how it goes there. A tricky test here for Chelsea tonight at Craven Cottage. We're going to move to the Spanish Super Cuppa now. This match kicks off at 2 p.m. Eastern time. This is played in Saudi Arabia, Barcelona against Athletic Bilbao. And I tell you what, I nearly put Barcelona -1 as part of my daily double here. I think they're going to be just too strong for Athletic Bilbao. Night and day, really, between the two sides. Should comfortably have enough. It's the battle of the goalkeepers, of course. Simon at Bilbao and Joan Garcia at Barcelona, who's fast becoming possibly the best Spanish keeper. They've got an incredible amount of options to them. David Raya, of course, as well. But he's number 3 at the moment. So these keepers are going to try and do sort of battle against each other. But I personally believe Barcelona will be too strong. They recently played just a month or so ago and easily beat Athletic Bilbao 4-0. And for those who are saying, oh, it's only the Spanish Super Cup, but Barcelona are not going to care, there's never really a match where these big sides in Spain don't care. They want to beat each other. They want to get as much silverware as they possibly can. I certainly think Barcelona win and probably should win quite well here. The keeper situation, I must say, Joan Garcia was incredible, made some incredible saves against Espanyol at the weekend. And we could be talking about him as the best keeper in the world in a couple of years, Nigel. Unbelievable options that Spain have in between the sticks. These days, it's you can certainly see why they're the clear favourites.
They've had good goalkeepers in recent years, haven't they? Like Casillas, they've had good goalkeepers. Even back in the day when I in the 80s before they won the World Cup, they had who's the guy they played at? Zubizarreta. They've always had a decent goalkeeper, the Spanish. You know, they never used to have a striker. That was always their problem. And then they found the way to play football without a striker, and then they're formidable. But this Spanish team looks amazing. I like Yamal to score any time tonight. I think he'll be a bet tonight.
They like to raise it on the big stage as well in Saudi Arabia. This is not just a glorified friendly. Barcelona have won each of their last 4 games by a 2-0 scoreline. A stat that producer Troy gave me there. I think
double it up with Lazio, 2-0, 2-0. Lazio and
2-0.
2-0.
I think it certainly will be at least 2-0, but possibly more in this one. I do like that -1 Asian handicap or -1.25 if you want to play something closer to evens. I nearly put it in my daily double, but my part of the daily double that I'm going to give out is actually in the Parma Inter game. This is the 3 later kickoffs in Serie A. I've got absolutely nothing for Torino Udinese. I would recommend to leave that one totally alone. But Parma Inter, for me, Inter will get the job done here, and I think they'll win 2-0. So my leg of the daily double is going to be both teams to score no at -129. It actually covers the 0-0 draw, which could be a very, very slight risk. But Inter have been brilliant this season. They've won 8 of their 13 matches in Serie A to 0. And when Parma lose, 5 of their 7 defeats have been to 0 as well. So it tends to be if they don't score, they lose the game. Inter are -1.5 on the Asian handicap, but I do think you want to get that 1-0 covered. There's a massive match coming up at the weekend, Napoli against Inter. So I think they just want to come here, get the business done. Christian Kivo against his former club as well, of course. So for me, it will be win 2-0, but I like both teams score no is the bet I'm going with because it's near enough the same odds. You get a little bit better for win 2-0, but you might as well just cover that 0-0 just in case. Lazio, Fiorentina. Lazio are your sort of team, Nigel. They have had 13 consecutive matches in all comps go under 2.5 goals. Maurizio Sarri has always been your sort of thing.
Yeah,
Will that streak end finally? He's not been a happy man, Maurizio Sarri.
Hopefully not.
Recently, he basically said, I want to get players in that are better than we've got right now. And Lazio are not impressing him with the type of striker that they have signed. I think Fiorentina could be a live dog in that. If you're looking for a money line play, perhaps for the $10 bonus pizza money bet, then I think you could do worse from Fiorentina tonight at +210. I could see them coming here. Lazio are missing players to suspension, to injury, to AFCON, and Fiorentina fighting for their lives at the bottom of the table. +210 looks good. The one player I'd keep your eye out, my one player prop bet of the day is Gustav Isaksson for Lazio for a shot on target -108. This guy has been injured recently, but he should start tonight. Absolutely lethal accuracy, often from outside the area, Gustav Isaksson, but they've got nothing else at the moment. They've just lost Castellanos to West Ham. Not that he was doing much anyway. You can see why they've had so many unders. I could see Fiorentina winning this 1-0, 2-0. So that is
treble, 3-0 treble, the 2-0 parlay, 2-0 the scoreline of the day. Put it in.
Win 2-0 is the way forward. But they say my part of the daily double is going to be in that Parma Inter game. Both teams score no. Let's go to your leg of the daily double. We go Newcastle Leeds here, St James's Park. It's going to be a cold evening in the northeast, Nigel. And the cold weather often means not many goals, but you need a couple of goals from Newcastle in your daily double angle. -159 to beat Leeds. I know they're a player view on the Premier League show here, but you just need a couple of team total goals from Newcastle. Talk us through that.
Yeah, I've played Newcastle on the money line over here earlier at -136. I just think Newcastle will be far, far too strong for Leeds. Their home form is exceptional. Now they've got Wyss up front with an option to Watermada. It makes their goal scoring threat even better. Guimarães in midfield. Anthony Gordon, always a goal threat as well. I love watching Newcastle play, and I love watching Newcastle play at home because they're entertaining. The crowd get behind them, and it's one of the, I would argue, it's the most difficult place to go in the Premier League when it's rocking. You know, Arsenal's got the best record, and Brentford have got the second best record, but Newcastle, when it's rocking, it's sensational. And I think the Leeds fans tonight will come here, give them a go, but I think Leeds, all their best form is at home. You're a Leeds fan, Steve. You know how good they are at home and what Ellen Road is like. But on the road, it is not the same. I saw them play Arsenal. They conceded 5. They conceded 3 at Manchester City, which, okay, they're playing the best 2 teams in the country, conceded 8 goals. There's a lot of teams that do that. They went to Burnley, conceded 2 goals. They went to Brighton, conceded 3 goals. They went to Nottingham Forest against 3 goals. So Burnley at this moment in time are the worst team in the Premier League in my mind. Forest aren't far off one of the worst teams in the Premier League, conceded 2 and 3. They give up so many goals. They look tired. Their defence is absolutely running. You know, so many injuries to their defence. This their reserves, their reserve team defensively, and they're up against a Newcastle side who have scored at least 2 goals in their last 10 home matches. And they scored at least 2 or more in 12 of their 16 matches in all competitions this season, which is a 75% charge, which makes it -$3 on an average match. I know it's a short amount of form, and I know people will say, "Oh, it's only a short sample," but it is $3 on this season that Newcastle scored 2 or more goals. And this Leeds side is one of the worst road teams in the division. They give up one of the most goals opportunities and concede some of the most goals in the Premier League on the road. And I'm going to go for Newcastle here to score more than 1.5 goals. I think that's a really good bet. 20 goals Leeds conceded in 10 matches this season. So they're averaging 2 goals a game. And they're up against a Newcastle side that just score 2 goals every time they go to the pitch in all competitions. So, yeah, that is my leg of the daily double. Newcastle to score more than 1.5 goals, so 2 goals or more. Cashed in 10 in the last 10 home matches. I'm really heavily involved in Newcastle on the money line. And I've also bet Newcastle -3/4 of a goal as well. And that's on my official play. I think this is a tough night for Leeds. I think a lot of energy they've given up in some really big matches. Yeah. The Man United game at the weekend took a lot out of them. The 0-0 draw at Anfield took a lot out of them. And I think this year they're primed against a Newcastle side that are scoring and now have Wyss as an option up front as well. So, unfortunately, Leeds fans, Steve, sorry, mate. I fancy Newcastle to get a few here.
Well, it's one of those, even if Leeds lose this match by quite a bit, I'm not going to even have a go at Daniel Farke because I think he's done really well recently, changed the system up. But again, it's a bit like what I said with Sunderland, what is left in the tank. You look at Leeds' recent fixtures, Liverpool away, Man United at home, and I was disappointed with how I thought Leeds looked a little bit off colour against Man United. Maybe the start of showing a bit of, we know they run an awful lot. Only Manchester City run more than Leeds. Leeds haven't got the squad that Man City have got. So I think Newcastle probably will. I like that bet of Effie Brailovsky's as well, actually, over 1.5 goals in the second half. I could see Newcastle, like they did against Palace, sort of ramping it up late on. Leeds might be competitive for a little bit of time, but I think it will, in the second half, be just too much. And I don't think we can really hold it against Leeds or Farke if Newcastle get the job done here. 90% of the money is on the tune on Newcastle United, 81% of the tickets on Newcastle as well, 92% of the money on the over as well. Could be a match with a few goals in it. Although the reverse fixture was a horrible 0-0, I do think the situation will change. That's the official daily double on the screen there, +194. Newcastle over 1.5 team total, and Parma versus Inter, both teams score no, +195. And if you like a plus money bet, we know. And for those that are new in chat here, then, and I know a lot of you are in here now, the pizza money bonus $10 play. If you got your eyes on a plus money bet at Bet Rivers, Betting Weekly is giving you a little bit of pizza money to lock it in, and use that code on screen there. Betting Weekly 1218 in capitals. You get a $10 bonus bet to use on any plus money bet, and you've got until January the 11th to use that code. I think tonight's as good a night as ever to get that used up, Nigel. There's a lot
or use it on tomorrow's Sean Calvert plus money pick that's dropping after the show on the tennis, because he's had 5 bets, 5 plus money picks, all won. So there's a plus money pick coming on Game Bet Match, which will be released after the show goes live. So there's a lot. I mean, Aston Villa definitely make potential. The daily double makes great appeal. Fiorentina, there's a lot to like.
Hughesy's in. The Hitman's in the chat.
Hitman's here. Hey, Hitman's here.
Mags.
Hitman, get on that Instagram account, Hitman. Stop commenting on it. Get on that Instagram. Get him FA Cup picks out. Come on. We don't pay him to get quotes in here. Get on that Instagram account, Hitman.
How safe do you think Leeds are to stay up? Very likely, but we'll have to sweat it out. Well, look, listen, if the bottom 3 keep not getting many points, then it's not going to be a sweat, is it? But listen, what I would say is, like Leeds have run a lot this season. They might be another team really struggling the last couple of months this season when there's not much left on the tank. But hopefully there won't be any sweat. Hopefully West Ham, from our point of view, keep being awful. Do you know what I've suddenly realised now? I actually forgot about a game early.
I know you forgot 2 games. 2 games you missed. You missed Everton Wolves. You missed Burnley Man United. One of the most interesting matches of the night. I couldn't understand it. You cut the Premier League to go across to some Spanish stuff. And I thought, hang on, he's going to come back. He never come back.
Well, no, Burnley Man United. I'm saving that to them because that's the late kickoff. Okay. I totally forgot Everton Wolves.
Oh, okay.
Totally forgot.
Well,
So we'll
to
go
be
for it,
fair,
yeah.
not much,
Not much to
say about it, really, to be honest with you. How are Everton going to bounce back from that dreadful performance when I put my money on them to beat Brentford? Absolutely awful. 4-2 home defeat. Lots of players out missing at the AFCON as well. Good players, more attacking players. And Wolves on the metrics are doing all right. They're doing okay. Their recent results, 2-1 against Liverpool, 2-1 against Arsenal, 1-1 against Man United, difficult places, all away from home, and then at home they beat West Ham. Good time to play Everton, but I think that Moyes will steady the ship. I think he'll work on the defensive frailties, and my angle in here was under 2.5 goals. I would probably be looking to bet Wolves on the money line. They were plus 410. They've been betting to plus 375, and I think yesterday Lewis Jones gave a brilliant bet, Burnley to finish bottom of the Premier League, because Wolves look like picking up points and Burnley look destined for failure. And, the manager, Scott Parker, will be linked possibly with West Ham, other jobs that are coming around, and he might walk away from a sinking ship. So I love that Burnley angle, but I think Wolves have got a chance tonight, but it's plus 375. But for me, under 2.5 goals, I wouldn't be surprised to see this match being 0-0.
Yeah, I think under 2.5 goals looks really good here, I must say. And that's why 82% of the money is on that under. And but Everton are backed on the money line, 94% of it, a lot presuming for this David Moyes bounce back, which he might get it. But the bounce back's probably going to be with a clean sheet, isn't it? Or trying to get a clean sheet. Wolves, like Lewis Jones said on yesterday's show, in the last 6 games, have something like the second best underlying defensive metrics. I'm not exactly sure which ones, but they have been much improved under Rob Edwards in that capacity. Good luck, whatever you are playing in that game. And we talked about Burnley just now. Here they are, Burnley against Manchester United. Can you do it on a really cold, dark night in Burnley? And it will be here tonight. It'll be freezing cold. Manchester United, minus 143. Not sure I would have backed that if Ruben Amorim was still in charge, but we might just get a new manager bounce here from the Red Devils, Nigel, against a Burnley side who are so limited, and the rules of Burnley are back the under at home.
Well, they drifted, though. Man United have drifted slightly since the Premier League show, which suggests that people aren't the bettors and the Asian syndicates who really dictate this market. Aren't really convinced by the appointment of Fletcher for this match as an interim. The one thing I think they revert to a 4-4-2 system straight away. I think the trading director, showing my betting, the sporting director will turn around to Darren Fletcher and say to him, we go 4-4-2, a bit like Mike Bassett. We play a 4-4-2 system, and that's what we do. And I think they'll change that to say to Amorim, this is how we do it. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him do that and put in a performance, because these things happen in football. The person I was interested in is Mainu. I don't know if he's fit enough to start in this match. He wasn't in the betting with Bet Rivers to soar or to assist. I don't know whether he's out, but he will be the one player that I think will be brought into this Manchester from the Cove to this Manchester United setup. And he's a top class player. He was a regular in the England team that got to the final of the European Championships, and he was sort of cast aside in the system that Amorim played. Football is a funny thing. They bring them back and suddenly they score and go on an unbelievable run. So if Mainu appears as a shock player, either on the bench, maybe look for that. But I think the angle here is I wouldn't be betting Man United and I wouldn't be betting Burnley, but I do think there's goals in the match. I think Man United games just always produce goals. They can't defend very well. They've got so many defenders out at the moment. Bruno Fernandes may be back for this match, but the man at the moment for them has been Kuna. Kuna has been absolutely exceptional. I think it was great at the weekend. The day before, he's been the best player for Manchester United in the last 2 or 3 games. And at plus 135 to score any time when the club need him, I think that would be my angle. But minus 143, no, I wouldn't be betting Man United. Minus 143.
Yeah, got some interesting stats here from producer Troy that Burnley have lost all of their last 8 Premier League night matches as an underdog. Manchester United have won 6 of their last 7 Prem matches away to Burnley to 0. So Man United to 0 might be a popular bet here.
I could have bet Man United to win to 0 against anyone, and Burnley are the anyone in the Premier League. That can you bet Man United to keep a clean sheet the way they play? I suppose the 4-4-2 system makes them a little bit more defensive strengths, but it all depends on the team tactics that he plays and the personnel he plays. And I think there'll be some shock people playing tonight who are being sort of cast out in the cold at Manchester United. And it'd be very interesting to see what the team lineup is. And the formation is the most key point here.
I think Burnley are just so limited and so awful. And, 69% of the money's on Man United. I thought there might be more, but maybe there's a lot of thinking where you're coming from there. They can't
Burnley have 11 players out from their squad injured or suspended or at the AFCON from this match. And when you've got you have the smallest squad in the Premier League, to have 11 players out is a huge amount of players, and that they're down to their bare bones. But this is Man United. This is Man United that couldn't beat a 10-man Everton at home after 15 minutes. This is Man United that, just the most inconsistent team in the world. And I vowed after the Everton game I will not be beating Man United again this season. It doesn't matter who's in charge. I'm going to keep to that promise until I see some change. And at this moment in time, I can't see change. If the system changes and they bring in personnel and it looks good, and this is what the sporting director wants to happen, then there may be a change of plan. But at this moment in time, they've still got a lot of work to do.
Just going back to the Wolves game, Effie likes Wolves to score a goal at -160. AJT, I like that one actually for Wolves. Mane shot on target. He's looked quite good for them, the youngster for Wolves. He's playing with complete freedom, no pressure. Jake says Everton are a good bet tonight. Mr. Promise says Man United win and team total over 1.5. There's a house special in this game. I'm not sure if I like this one or not. Man United to score at least 2 goals in either half. That's boosted to +140. Maybe. Not sure.
Prefer the Man City and Haaland to win.
Yeah, I do.
I prefer that one.
Yeah, I do as well. Good luck. I mean, the way you were talking there, you were almost convincing me actually to get on United. Nigel. Burnley.
Wait till your team is. Wait till you see the team. See what he's set up. If he makes huge, but they've got Brighton in the FA Cup of the weekend, Steve. Massive.
Yeah.
They've got to win a trophy. They have to win a trophy. That's all they've got this season, the FA Cup. So. You remember when they were in their doldrums before and Mark Robins scored that goal in the FA Cup and the whole thing changed in the third round against Nottingham Forest. It's got that kind of look about it and with Brighton. So I don't know. I wouldn't be betting them, mate.
I don't remember that. I think I was only about 4 years old.
Oh, you remember that? No, I think it was the 1990 FA Cup. Oh, I'm showing my age there. So Alex Ferguson was under pressure. He needed a win. And Mark Robins, who's now the manager of Stoke, scored against Nottingham Forest as a super sub, and then everything changed. He was going to get sacked if they lost that game, and then he went on to be the greatest manager in history.
So Mark Robins is to blame for Man United's era of dominance, basically.
Yes, Mark Robins.
Damn Mark Robins. Right, notable live streams today.
Get red card to Hughesy. Nigel was only 40 in that game. Now listen, he's come on, hit a daily double. He's getting too big for his boots, old Hughesy. Get on that Instagram. Come on, stop doing this.
The hitman is throwing some punches around. You can also watch Benfica Braga in the Taça da Liga. I think it's the Portuguese League Cup. And you can, of course, watch the WTA Auckland and Brisbane. What content have we got coming on the channel today, Nigel? We've got some tennis dropping later.
Yeah, we got a betting weekly game bet match after this match. Sean has a nice bet as well. A couple of leans as well, looking at the matches. And that's the last betting weekly game bet match. And obviously, the Premier League show's still there. If you want to watch that before the kickoff, Jack's got some bets as well. You've heard my opinion, but Jack's got some bets as well. And then we're obviously back tomorrow. And on the Instagram, if old Hitman can get off here, we'll have some pits on the win the FA Cup. But by the time he gets on it, I reckon the FA Cup will be over.
Yeah, I'm back on tomorrow. I'm betting weekly live. We'll be covering the Arsenal game against Liverpool, of course, and with more Serie A action. That's the Daily Double today. Reminder there, Newcastle over 1.5 team total goals and Palmer into both teams score no. Nigel, we've just about got through inside the hour. So many bets on the card. It's so exciting. Hopefully we can cash loads of winners. Thanks so much for your thoughts today. And thanks everyone who joined in live or on demand. So many comments that I couldn't go through a lot of them. It was like a Champions League show, but I've read all of them. There's some great plays going up there. And who was it that's just given me a comment that I need to mention there? Yeah, prop happens with the Raven helmet. Sorry for your loss, brother. Don't worry, there's always next year. There is always next year, and there's going to be a new head coach in Baltimore as well. So, Nige, good luck.
Good luck, mate. Take care. Good luck, everybody. Remember that offer. Lots of plus money bets. Hit that offer.
Yeah, get on that pizza money. You've got until 11th of Jan to do it. Take care, everyone. Remember to gamble responsibly. I'll see you tomorrow on Betting Weekly Live. And check out Betting Weekly Live PM later as well with Mike and Doug. They are in great form with the Daily Double as well. That's going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern time. See you around. Goodbye.